Alright, Crysis 3. What can I say about it? Let me take off my headset real quick. Alright, Crysis 3. People have been saying it was too short. But it's okay. You know what I'm saying? To me, if I feel satisfied right now. Like, I just beat the game and I don't feel as if, like, the game was too short. You know, I don't feel like I was cheated out of that great experience. Especially when it comes to a first-person shooter. A game can be longer, but then it's just more drawn out. You know what I'm saying? You feel like it's, I'm not going to say boring, but you feel like it's too long, you know. This feels right. It's like 8 to 10 hours, you know. I was planning on veteran, so I guess if you're planning on normal, you can get through it a whole lot quicker, but I mean, it just doesn't, I feel satisfied. I don't feel like I was cheated or anything like that. So that's my, you know, that's my 2 cents on that. Graphics, I can't really say nothing about the graphics. The graphics are beautiful. With Crysis, it seems like, or with, you know, yeah, I can say with Crysis. It seems that with the Crysis series, Crytek has, I joked about it with a couple of my friends about it. I was like, they aren't making a game with the beautiful graphics. They're making like badass graphical tech demos with with a story. That's why they always throw in the extra stuff in there, like the 3D modeling, or the galleries and stuff like that. Whenever they show like the nanosuit trailers and things like that, they're just showing off their graphical prowess. So the graphics, they was on point. The only really downside I could see in graphics, I'm going to be speaking about multiplayer too, so is in the multiplayer side of things, not the campaign, but in the multiplayer side of things, you have a few graphical hiccups. Like, you'll load in on a map, and then you'll see like the surroundings load in. Kind of like as if you should have loaded in like 5 seconds later, then they would be there, but you load in before everything else. So that's the only problem I see with that. On the multiplayer side, the graphics, obviously, they can't look as good as the campaign on console. On PC, I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't played it, but by it being multiplayer, I'm assuming they would have to tone it down. That's just the way it is. You can't have all the things dedicated to everybody and have all the graphics being as good, and then not, take it away from somewhere. So, graphics is good. The sound design was on point. The weapon sounds were good. The voice acting was great. Even the dialogue that you really didn't notice, like I noticed it because it was memorable to me. Like when you were working with the one, what was her name? When you were working with Claire, and you were trying to get to where the nanosuit crater was. When I picked up a Seth weapon and integrated with it, she was like monitoring and she said something about it. I was like, wow, that's like almost like dynamic dialogue, because what if I didn't pick up, that Seth weapon? You know what I'm saying? So I like the dynamic dialogue like that. I like how they finally gave Prophet a voice in the game. You know what I'm saying? Because in part 1 and in part 2, even though you played different people, you were a mute. I forget what the guy's name was that you played in part 1, but he didn't say anything, except in like a couple cutscenes, or maybe even not even then, if I remember right. I can't, it's been like, years since I played part 1. But in Crysis 2, you didn't say anything. You know what I'm saying? You were a faceless mute. And I hate that, I hate how they do that in games. I hate it in Halo, I hate it in Half-Life, I hate it in every other game, because you can't get attached to the character when it's a faceless mute. They don't have no personality. And they say they do it. They kind of do it because the developers are lazy, or they don't have the money to have another voice actor, so they probably cut it out, or they try to make you believe that you're the person doing it. When in the story of the game is already made up anyway, so of course you already know it's not you, so you don't get attached to it like that. So I was never a big fan of that. But I love how they gave, Prophet a personality, and how he talked in the cutscenes, talked in the game. I liked how I liked how his voice was. I liked how his voice sounded. I mean, I know it's the same guy that was in part 2 and in part 1, so that's good. I wish they'd have changed his voice in this one, because he's not Prophet. Lawrence Barnes. It's not him. You know what I'm saying? He's more of like a blend between Lawrence Barnes and Alcatraz and the suit, all mixed into one. But it seems that after part 2, they kind of, just was like, okay, well, no, he's Prophet now. It's cool. It's a cool idea, but it seems as almost as if they just threw Alcatraz to the wayside. Like they just like he never put him in a suit. You know what I'm saying? It just seems that way, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I kind of wish that maybe the robotic voice of the suit, became the personality of Prophet, if you will, and that became, the entity known as Prophet, because that's what they was calling you, halfway through the game. So I wish it had made more sense, but then I guess you wouldn't have the same camaraderie like with Psycho or everybody else who knows Prophet. So it's kind of like a catch-22. Whereas you can't have it one way without being something else, and so I can understand them doing it the way they did. I mean, it's just a personal negative. I wish they'd ran with that whole thing that was in the book of part 2, but they kind of did and they kind of didn't. But it was good. I'm not knocking them for what they did. It was great. What else can I talk about? The story. The story was great. It was a hell of a lot better than part 2. That and the graphics design, I don't know what happened between 2 and 3, but it was a welcome change. Maybe it was because it was their first game on console in part 2, so they was unsure about what they wanted to do. But with this shit here, they ran with it. The map design, the level design was good. I never played one level and was like, oh man, I'm tired of playing on this level, And the AI of the game, the gameplay of it was hard. It was difficult. I mean, like I said, I was playing on veteran, so I wasn't playing on normal. I don't know how easy it is on that, but it was fun. The levels were good. The story was there. Every mission you were doing something. It felt like you was doing something important. Except maybe like the 1 or 2 missions in the beginning, but they were set up for the later missions. I really liked how it kind of showed character development in Prophet. How like in the beginning he was like more, I'm not going to say more machine, but he was more logical in the beginning. And then as the game went on, he became more and more humanistic to a point. You know what I'm saying? And maybe they was leading up to with the ending scene right there where he was kind of like a humanoid version of his older self. That was cool. Like that. It was just a very well written game. I mean, even the dialogue, I can't say the dialogue was shitty. Like in Devil May Cry, that's one thing I said about that. I mean, the dialogue was written well. Besides being spoken well by voice actors, it was written very, very well. And I like how they didn't dumb down the dialogue for people to not understand it and things like that. I can't really... The only nod I would give to the storyline as far as like the things I didn't like